is my screen visible?
Yes.
Oh, okay, okay. Thank
I
you.
think
Yeah.
everybody can see the screen.
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay.
Okay, okay. Thank you. So thank you for the introduction. I don't need to talk more anything about myself. So I'll just start with why is it important to know about cancer, especially during this time. There have been like COVID as of now is one of the most deadliest virus that ever existed in the history of mankind. Like there have been more pandemics like SARS, MERS, but death rate though is less as compared to those. But there has not been so much contagious virus ever, unlike COVID. So especially for patients who are terminally ill like cancer, they have to take very it's like a lifetime decision for them whether they should go for the treatment, not go for the treatment, what are the risks if they have to go for the treatment, and so on. So there have been a lot of concerns about these cancer patients. So this is an article where a doctor from US, very famous doctor, he wrote like, my cancer patients, they are already facing a hard choice when they have cancer. Now coronavirus is just making it worse. So he shared two stories of his two patients. This lady here, she had breast cancer, one particular type of breast cancer called triple negative breast cancer, which doesn't really have any treatment as such. So what she has to do, she has to undergo a surgery and then undergo chemotherapy. But now she has to decide whether she should go or she can wait. Similarly, this gentleman here, he had stomach cancer and he had only option he has is chemotherapy. But now he can't go to the hospital. So he's taking some normal medicines which are available, but that is just to reduce the symptoms. So there are millions of such patients who are actually facing these difficulties, and not just the ones who are currently having cancer, but even the ones who every year, like almost new 9 million patients get diagnosed. So imagine number of cancer patients who would have ideally get diagnosed on time, but now that it will be delayed because of corona. So it's a very complicated situation. So I just wanted to bring the basics of COVID and cancer and how they are linked. So okay, let me just see if I can. For me, my screen, I'm okay. So basically COVID-19, we all know it's very dangerous, but I want to give you a perspective. Why is it so dangerous? So the reason is it's a RNA virus. And why RNA virus means danger? The reason is even in a normal human body, our cells also replicate, they also divide, they also make their copies, and that's how we all grow. But we have DNA as genetic material that has a special quality. When the cells replicate, this DNA has a proofreading mechanism, which means when the cells are replicating, if there are any errors made, these proofreading materials, which are the enzymes, they make sure that they keep the mistakes at check so that things don't go wrong. But the RNA doesn't have that enzyme. So the RNA polymerase doesn't have this proofreading ability. What happens is when a virus having RNA divides, it keeps on making more and more mistake, which means it keeps on becoming more and more mutated, which means it becoming more and more dangerous. So it's like when we are growing up, when we make mistakes, our parents and our elders scold us, right? So that we don't become dangerous. So you can just compare it that way. So proofreading mechanism is important, which these viruses lack, and they are like super smart. They make sure they become so mutated that the body is not able to identify them, which makes them extremely dangerous and contagious. So basically, this is an electron microscope picture. This is a cell and this is the virus. This is how this virus is coming out from the cell and how it looks like. And it's called COVID, which comes from crown. The red structure here is a protein which gives it a crown shape, crown-like look. So that's just a basic. Sorry. So we all know it transmits from respiratory droplets and all, but apart from that, what many people don't know, it's important to take all the precautionary measures, wash hands when you touch a surface, because it can survive for long hours, for like up to 3 days, even 4 days on many surfaces, on stainless steel, on plastic. When you are receiving some order, you have a cardboard, it can be there for 1 hour, and if you don't wash your hands, so it is dangerous. So many times we don't really realize the importance of these things, but this is really very important. So apart from the respiratory, it has been detected in fecal and blood specimens. So it's important to have sanitation and proper hygiene in washrooms, and also for the normal surfaces. So this is something we all know. So what I want to tell more in more biological sense, I'll try to keep it simple. Why we all know if you have COVID, or if a patient gets COVID, they have difficulty breathing, and it can also lead to many other complications. So I want to put a perspective why that happens from a biological side. So what happens is when a virus comes into the body, it attaches to a receptor, and then it enters the cell. Now these cells are basically the lung cells, and these cells produce surfactant. So that reduces the surface tension, which is important for breathing normally. Now what happens is once these viruses enter into the cell, they replicate, they make more and more copies, and then they're released out into the air sacs, which is the space which is generally used for breathing. Now these viruses come out into that space in your lungs, that triggers the immune response, because now your body knows the response, and the body starts doing their best. It's like a army, navy, air force, everybody's trying to, it's like a war at the national level. So similarly thing happening in your body, they do their best, release everything they can, which leads to further inflammation, which is called hyperinflammation phase. In that, and this is everything is happening in the alveolar sac, which is generally filled with air, which does the gas exchange work. So now imagine if you had let's say 10 mm square space for breathing, and now that's reduced to 4 mm. So that means you have more pressure, because the 6 mm space is occupied by these cells and viruses where they are fighting. So you have very less gas exchange happening, which puts more pressure on your lungs. So patients get difficulty of breathing. And apart from that, these chemicals, they all go to different nervous system, they affect the brain, they release different chemicals that leads to increase in blood pressure, increase in kidney secretions. So which means, no, if a person doesn't have good immunity, or if there are many other complications that exist, it can lead to not only lung problems but also many other problems like cardiac problem, kidney failure, and many cases the people who die, they die because of multi-organ failure, because they have so much response going on, like body on one side is trying its best to fight, but at the same time it's never a specific response. It might have a good effect, but it will also have multiple non-specific effects, which leads to multi-organ failure. So that's like the basic. And also, since it can even in a healthy into all these complications, but people who already have these pre-existing conditions, they are at a much higher risk, which is obvious. So if you have asthma, if you are stressed, you have liver disease, diabetes, you are elder, or if you are obese, if you have kidney disease, they are all at a very high risk. But what we are talking about today is the immunocompromised patients, and majority of the immunocompromised patients are basically cancer patients. So let's talk about that, but let's first see what cancer actually is and why cancer people are at high risk. So normally what happens in your body, cell divide, and every cell has a fixed number of division that it can take. A cell from one tissue might be able to have 20 divisions, and after that dies, and the new cell keep on replenishing it. That's like that's what happened in a normal scenario. But because of, there are multiple reasons why cancer happens. One of them is same as the virus. There might be some mutations that might happen in the cell, and your DNA loses its proofreading ability, and it keeps on dividing just like a virus. Same thing is happening in your body when you get cancer. So these cancer cells keep on dividing, and then they become so huge that they start using all the resources of a normal cell. And then they will go from one place to another, one organ to another, and they become metastasis, and which leads to death of the patient. So every year, the number of cancer has been increasing drastically, and majority of it has been linked with lifestyle changes, stress, the food that we eat. That's a different topic altogether. So, and the most common ones are lung cancer, which is a huge concern for COVID patients because they already have something, and then if they get COVID, it just makes it worse. So, talking about treatment of cancer, what happens when a patient gets diagnosed with cancer? First priority is always trying to remove the cancer tissue, because ideally once it's removed, it shouldn't come back. Of course, there are always few cells that remain inside the cancer patient, which we cannot see with the technologies today. So surgery is the first option if possible. Many a times it's not possible because it's very complicated and people have other pre-existing conditions. If that doesn't happen, then they go for radiotherapy, which means the doctor gives high ionizing rays to kill the cancer cells. Now once those cancer cells are killed, ideally patient should be fine, but generally these therapies don't work, are not 100% efficient on their own. So one or two therapies will always be combined together. Either it can be surgery with radio with chemo with surgery. There are multiple combinations. Then comes the chemotherapy. Chemotherapy is nothing but chemical based therapy. So these chemicals, what they do, they will go and kill the cells. Now there are multiple ways they can kill the cells, but the way they work is they just go and bind to the cancer cells and try to kill them. But again, these drugs are not very specific. Whatever they do to the cancer cells also lead to many more side effects, and especially patients who are undergoing chemotherapy have extremely reduced immunity. They are the people who are like immunocompromised. So, and then the latest one is immunotherapy, which was first approved in 2011. What does immunotherapy do? It basically improves your immune system such that initially what happens is when you have cancer cells, your body knows that there is cancer and ideally it should kill it, because that's how we all have evolved. No matter what happens, our body has healing power. But cancer cells are also very smart. They have also evolved. What they do, they play hide and seek, and they hide themselves from these immune cells. So what does immunotherapy does is it goes and affects immune cells. Unlike chemotherapy, which actually kills the cancer cell, immunotherapy increases your immunity such that now your immune cells can recognize cancer and kill it. So this is very effective. This is one of the most effective treatments so far. But again, it doesn't work in everyone. There are different multiple reasons for that. But it is the effective. But again, it might work like magic in one patient, might not work in other patient. Then at the end, if nothing else works, they can go for transplant. Again, depends on their age, other complications, and also not all cancers can have a transplant. But like liver, then they need to find a right donor, bone marrow transplant for blood cancer, and so on. And the waiting time can be like up to from 6 months to anywhere between 3 years in India. So it's very tricky thing, and when you have such condition, it becomes very difficult, like what you should do. So why is it important now? This was just to give a basic of cancer versus COVID. Now, what people have, since everybody is still busy in trying to control COVID, there are not too many studies as of now, but there have been few studies, and one of them comes from China, where they found out that cancer patients who actually acquired COVID-19, they had high morbidity rate. They were 3 times more prone to death versus cancer patients who didn't have COVID-19, and they required ventilator support and they eventually died. So basically, which means now you have to make sure that if you are coming for the treatment, coming for the intervention, the benefit that you are getting, it must outweigh the risk of, if at all you get COVID-19. So again, it's a very tough decision that they need to take. So, and again, for cancer, it's not like influenza, or it's not like a normal fever. So you take paracetamol, you'll be fine. So there's no one size fit all approach. Every cancer is different. Every patient is different. The biology behind each cancer type in different patient is different. So it's very complicated. So this is to give a background on what they can do or what a doctor would look for. The best person is still they have to go to the oncologist to talk with them to make sure what should be the next step for them. But this is the guideline that was released. So if the cancer patients are at high, are at the basically are at high risk, which is basically high stage grade, what they can do, for example, if they have blood cancer, or if they have prostate cancer, breast cancer, lung cancer, head and neck cancer, but all these cancers which require radiation or chemotherapy, and at a later stage of their cancer, they have to proceed with the surgery. They cannot wait. But again, even if you are at a higher stage of cancer, but if you are very old, if you are 70 plus, doctors still have to make a tough decision and decide whether they should go for it or not. Because, for example, if you are a lung cancer patient, the average and if you are a stage 3 or 4, and if you are 70 plus year old, average lifespan would be maybe 6 months after the treatment. But what are the risks? If you are more prone to get infection, if you go to hospital, then you might even survive only for 6 days. Nobody knows. So it's a very tough decision, and it's very tough emotional decision where so many people are involved, not just the cancer patients, but also the family, caregiver, hospital, everyone. So, and if a patient has intermediary stage, they can wait. Then, and where they, if the patient is young, for example, less than 50, then they can still go for the treatment, because ideally they would have immune system strong enough to fight the risk. But again, if they are very old, no matter what stage they are advised to not go for the treatment, delay as much as possible, because it's always about now race against time. How much is your average survival with the treatment versus survival if you actually get the infection? So it's a tough decision. But if you are young, and if you even if you have cancer, and if you think that your immunity is good, they are basically preferred to go for the treatment so that they can survive. And people who are in medium age, 50 to 70, there are a lot of other factors that come into picture. What is the other conditions they have, especially heart disease, because it's very common, high BP, diabetes, all those risks they have to see. And then the advantage of going for treatment should definitely outweigh the risk that they have. So it's a tough call, but again, that's the best that your physician can do. And what happens is, if a patient goes to a hospital, a cancer patient always go with their family, even with 1%, 2%. And if they keep allowing all the patients, what would happen is, people who are dying because of cancer, that is one thing. But the health system, they are trying to keep the number of cases as low as possible because of overload of patients. So if there were 10 patients dying because of cancer, they don't want 5 of them dying because of COVID. So then it just disrupts the balance. So that is one problem. And then with every patient that comes to hospital, again, I don't need to say this because of social distancing, how it spreads 1% to 3, 3 to 9, and so on. So it just creates the ripple effect. But those patients who are actually undergoing, who are taking drug as a part of the trial, they are basically required to still go, because that's the best option they have anyway. If a patient is dying currently, and if they are part of clinical trial where a new drug is being tested, and that's the best chance of their survival, and if they don't go for that, they're anyway dying, then they are supposed to go, because then it's really they don't have any option. Either they would end up dying because of no drug, or they might take the risk to just go. So there are a lot of complications and a lot of things to keep in mind when it comes to what you should do. So, and there was this study which I saw in one of the video, which was very interesting. So many of these patients, this was in US. So they interviewed many of the cancer patients and their families, and tried to understand how they are coping up with the COVID stress. And they realized that they are extremely stressed, which is understandable, but they are following all the protocols, but it's like becoming OCD. They are doing everything in excess to make sure they they are trying their best. But eventually what's happening is, they are doing everything in excessive, washing their hands, they are checking TV, internet, all the news that they can, as much as possible, asking others that are they doing fine every time. They are doing the best, but it's leading to a lot of stress in their mind. So which is again is negatively correlated with the on a negatively correlated with the survival. So excess of everything is bad. There has to be a balance. So this was something I saw on one of the doctor had shared this slide where they had put nothing new, nothing science. I mean, no rocket science, but it is very important to stay connected with each other. If you are a patient, you know another patient, stay connected, share your stories. Everyone needs emotional support, but especially if you are at a terminal disease, when you have short life, when you know that you might have only lifespan of 6 months or 1 year, and now you are at a higher risk of getting infected, and that 6 months or 1 year might reduce to even 2 months. It's a huge stress. So sharing, you have, it's important to have a network where they can share their experience, share their fears with others. So talk about the feelings, manage your, don't go into too much of media, don't go into getting all the information, don't keep on checking. I know media keeps on every day, every time you open a TV, it will show today this many deaths. The number will keep on increasing, so it just leads to negative thinking in the mind. So don't get too much stressed out with all that. Just try to do whatever you can, try to stay positive, relax, focus on your health, eat healthy. But we all know what we should do. 'Cause at the end, there is no vaccine, and there is no I don't think it's going to come anytime soon, at least in the next 2-3 years for sure. And the way this virus has been mutating, only thing we can do is keep our immune system healthy, keep and take precautions. That's the best that we can do. So now, and also another thing is, originally cancer and heart death. So the healthcare budget of any country used to go into a cancer and coronary disease, which is heart disease budget. But now that all the to corona. So now it will take some time even for the normal diagnostics, normal healthcare system to come back to normal as it used to be before COVID. So we need to get used to it. And so for that reason, there have been a lot of new technologies, or a lot of focus on using the new technologies like teleconsultation, telereporting, using apps and using platforms where you note down your symptoms, share with your doctor, so that you don't miss out something which you would have otherwise do in a normal case scenario. So there are technologies, there are people that are trying to help and create solutions for post COVID world, because it's not that after 2 months things will be back to normal. There'll be a lot of changes, and we never know, maybe another 5-10 years it might go like this. So we need to be prepared